Hi guys, this is an introduction to a new class, a new way of playing it, and we're calling it the Average Joe. In this case we picked a female, so it's going to be called Average Jane, okay? You're going to pick a human race, okay? So I took Imperial to start off with. And these are the do's and don'ts of this playthrough. You know, we're playing as the Average Joe Blow, so we're not going to be using armor and that kind of stuff, but we will have things for self-defense, right? We can do things like alchemy. Obviously, speechcraft is self-explanatory, right? Okay. Magic, we don't do it all. None of it. Okay. I'm kind of iffy about the whole enchanting thingy. I don't think we do that neither. We could definitely do blacksmithing because we learned the trade from, you know, Riverwood where we are now, right? So we could definitely get into blacksmithing. We're not going to be doing the armors or any of the armors. We can do blocking in the sense that we're not going to be using a sword and shield kind of thing, but in the sense that we're going to be using a dagger for our weapon. I'll explain here in a second. And then we can use it as a normal block, but not in terms of getting a shield, okay? We're the average person, okay, alright? We don't do two-handed. We can do one-handed, but we're sticking with daggers, okay? So our build is going to be with daggers only, alright? We do archery too as well. Now the reason why we have daggers and we have archery, okay, there's a reason for this. And that's because the role play of this is for self-defense, right? Okay, so we're out in the wild, we can go hunting, you know, for food. We can go hunting for bears, we can go hunting deer, we can go hunting rabbits, we can go, you get the idea of what I mean by hunting, right? Okay, alright. So we can also use one-handed with daggers only, like this is daggers only and bow and arrow, okay? You're not to do stealth, by the way, like you're not to make a stealth archer. That's just getting overdone and it's stupid, right, okay? So we're going to do it one-handed with daggers, and we are doing archery, okay, alright? We're not doing any kind of armor whatsoever. I'm not too keen on sneaking because we're playing as the average person, right? Okay, alright? So no on sneaking, okay? We can do lock picking because we need to open up chests when we find them or that sort of thing, but we're not a thief, right? We're the average person next door. I want to make this clear. We are the average person next door. So Average Joe, Average Jane. In this case I'm playing as a female. Then I picked Average Jane as my name, but that's also my class, right? Okay, so we're the average guy next door kind of thing, alright? So no to pickpocketing. Speech we can do, alchemy we can do. So let's go back over this now, okay? So speech, yes. Alchemy, yes. No to all of the magic. No to enchanting. Yes to smithing. No to armor. Yes to blocking, but not using a shield, only using your weapon or using your bare hands. Because you can fight in this in your bare hands too, okay? No to two-handed. Yes to one-handed, with it being hard locked to dagger only, because it's for self-defense. Archery, we use this for hunting, so that's fine. We don't do light armor. We don't do sneaking. We do lockpicking when we find chests out in the wild, okay? And we don't pickpockets. And there you go with that part of it, okay? Alright? Now I picked Imperial, but what you want to do is you want to pick a human race, okay? So you want to pick like a Nord, a Redguard, Imperial, or a Breton, okay? Those are the ones that you can pick. You can't pick anything else, because you're human, okay? Now, we could use the power here because it causes everyone around us to chill out for 60 seconds. So, you know, But overall, we're not using any kind of magic whatsoever. Okay, alright? So, our weapons are going to be daggers and bow and arrow only. Okay? That's it. Nothing else. Alright? We're going to use a wooden axe, and we're going to pick up a pickaxe when we can, because the wooden axe will allow us to chop up wood, so we can, chop up wood and give wood. In Whiterun, there's actually the person there in the abandoned mare tells you go out and chop up some wood. She could use some wood, so you can go there and you can actually get free boarding there. Like, you can get a free place to sleep for the night, right, if you chop up enough wood. So that's what we're doing for role-playing with that. The pickaxe, we're going to go around to mines. We're going to go around to places in the mountains and that to go and mine ore and stuff like that. Okay, alright? Alright, so apparel, we're sticking with clothes. Okay, alright? No armor at all of any kind. Clothes only, alright? So, you can get clothes at Radiant Raymond over, we'll get to that later. Alchemy, we can do alchemy, right? So that's not a problem either. We can make our own food, so that's okay. We don't do spells, so no with that. And now for role-playing purposes, I picked up a broom so that we can sweep the floors of the place that we live in, right? Okay. Cast iron pots so we can cook stew over the fire. And by the way, this is vanilla. This is not without mods, okay? So there's no mods in this. We got a girl's dress. We can adopt children into this once we get a place and we get settled in, right? Okay. We can do blacksmithing because this guy right here is our teacher, so we can role play it doing blacksmithing with him, okay? We got a tankard here so that we can have a drink whenever we want to sit down and have a drink. And you need to have these things on you at all times, right? These are role-playing items, okay? Got a wooden bowl. Now all we need to do is find a spoon, a fork, and a knife and that, right? We got a wooden ladle so that we can scoop out, soup and that kind of stuff, right? We got a wooden plate to eat out of with our food, so a bowl for soup, the plate for things like fish and meat and that kind of stuff. So it's like, as if we're sitting down at the dinner table, right? Okay? Alright, so that's how that works there. We're also going to get a pickaxe. And we're going to get some other items too as we go along as well, to help along with the role play. Now, what you're going to do here is you can actually go around, right, and help out other people, okay? So you can help out the locals and things like this. Now, it's up to you what alignment you want to be, but I suggest that you make it an alignment for yourself. And for this, we're neutral. We're going to do good deeds for people, but at the same time, we need to make some money too, right? So we're not evil, we're not demonic, but we're not goody two-shoes. We're not like a Christian or something. We're just like a secular person in society, trying to function in society, because eventually what we want to do is we want to get a player home, or we want to build our own home. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to go to Falkreath, and help out the Earl here. And then we're going to get a player home, and we're going to build our own home with the Heartfell DLC, right? So, at the very beginning of the game, you can see I don't have the lore stones unlocked, right? But the thing is that you start at Helgen, okay? Do not take any of the standing stones. We're not using any standing stones because we're the average person next door, okay? No standing stones at all, period, okay? Then we come up to Riverwood and we start our trade. Now our trade is a jack of all trades technically, so what we can do here is we can talk to the guy who runs the, what do you call it there, the blacksmithing guy, right, okay, so we can help him out, and then we can learn the trade of blacksmithing through him, and then he becomes our teacher, he becomes our mentor, right? And then we can actually have different levels in blacksmithing. And I'll talk about this here a little bit here. We can go to Hod and we can, chop up wood for him and bring wood to him, We can go around to the locals and talk to the locals. And you'll notice that there's this love triangle going on with Fendel, Sven, and Camilla, right? So then we can get involved in that and we can play it honestly, like, hey, you know what? I got this letter from so-and-so. They want me to lie to you about it, but I just don't feel good about it. So why don't I just hand you this letter and tell you, you know what? It's a lie. Like, this person is saying to lie for you. I can't do that in good conscience, This is how you role play, right? How you role play the blacksmith is, hey, bud, do you need some help around? And this is me using my own language, right? Hey, bud, do you need some help around the thing here? I'm a greenhorn. I'd love to learn a trade. Would you be my teacher? And he takes you on as being your teacher, and then he starts mentoring you, and then you just start building your own equipment, and then you start building a relationship with him, and then you start selling your stuff to him exclusively because he's the one mentoring you in blacksmith. Then what you could do is, because every area, like White Run, for example, and that has a blacksmith, is you could say, okay, this guy's our beginner blacksmith, then this guy, then the person up here could be our intermediate blacksmith, and then we could go over here where you got to get, over here will be Riften eventually, and then there's a guy there that needs fire salts, and then he could be the advanced or the expert trainer, right? So we'll call him, actually we'll call him the master trainer, right? So we can go through all of these different ones here, right? We can go up to Windhelm, and then that guy will be our advanced trainer, right? Okay. And then the guy over here in Markeith will be our advanced trainer, right? So then we got, like, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and master level trainers, right? And then that's how we separate them. Same too when it comes to the mills. You got all sorts of different mills. Well, we start here, right? So this is our beginner one, right? Then we go intermediate, advanced, and master, right? And master meaning, okay, that we mastered that. Now you can go and break it down to, like, every so many levels equals, okay, we've done that one, so let's say there's 5 of them, right? So we can say, like, every 10 levels in blacksmithing is we got to go find a new blacksmith, right? So we get 10 levels here, then we got to go 10 levels here, we got to go 10 levels over here in Markeith, we got to go 10 levels here up in Windhelm, and then we end with the guy over here as being our master trainer, right? And we got to go 10 levels there. So then there'll be like a total of 5 trainers for each thing. So there's 5 trainers for blacksmithing, 5 people for wood chopping, right? Because we can chop wood here, and then we can chop wood up here in Whiterun because, she wants wood to burn the fires, right? And that's how we're going to do that part of it, okay? We can come down here to Farcreath and help out the Earl, and then be able to get a player home here that we can make ourselves, where we can do our own gardening and have our own setup and that, which is actually pretty sweet, right? So that we can do that, okay? So if you're going to role play this in a neutral perspective like I am, we don't kill people, we act in self-defense, right? Okay? We go out, we hunt animals for pelts and that kind of stuff to sell, or we can use it for blacksmithing to further our trade in blacksmithing, right? And then we talk to people to up the skills in things like, speechcraft and that kind of stuff, right? So basically we're just the average Joe Blow looking to help people out. Now there'll be farms that pop up and they have wheat, like over here at Iverstead, okay, there's a place over here called Iverstead, somewhere around here, okay? Alright, so we go to Iverstead, right? And they actually have farms there. And when you talk to them, they'll be like, well, can you, if you have wheat or that, then you can sell them the wheat, right? So you collect it, you know what I mean? And that sort of thing. Same thing with the cabbage and stuff like that. There's also farms in and around Whiterun. You'll find out as you play the game, right? and then you can go around all the different farms, help them out by, like, you know, tilling the soil. So we want to get a hoe and that kind of stuff, right? So for role-playing reasons, okay, all right. And then we want to get a hoe so that would look, so that we can pretend like we're using the hoe to dig the stuff up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sell it back to them. Okay, all right. And we're going to go around doing good deeds and helping people out, right? Build a good reputation for ourselves as being a good citizen of the society here in Skyrim. Okay, all right. Now let's go on with some more aspects of the role play. Okay. So, some more aspects of the role play. Let me just see, what am I missing here? Okay. So we went through the different skills. Now what you can do here is we can do haggling as we get better. We can do allure. No reason to go down bribery. We can do persuasion. We can be persuasive. But we don't want to do intimidation because we're not a fighter, right? So I would say more like allure, haggling. We can do merchant, right? Investor. We're not really into stealing stuff, but hey, if we find something lying around, whatever, right? To each their own. And then we can do master trader, which would be really cool because then we can get the 1,000 gold, right? Here we can do persuasion, but we're not into intimidating people because we're just the average guy next door. So we might have to pick up this one just for the sake of argument, but really, yeah. You know, so alchemy we're going to be into. We can do this. We can do physician. We can do this too as well. Experimenter. Resistance to all poisons? Yeah, sure, why not? That's fine. All negative effects are removed. I don't know if you want to do that. Well, actually, that might not be a bad idea. You could probably do that too, you know, depending on how you want to do your build, right? Now, if we come over to the other side of it, we got poisoner. I really don't see us killing things with poison, right? You could for animals, right? Like you can actually make poisons. You can use, you know, poisons against animals, right? Because that's what they do in the Amazon, right? Amazon, they use poison to do that. And here we get two ingredients are gathered from plants. So we could do this too as well, using the poisons against the wildlife, right? To protect ourselves, right? Like I said, we're not doing the magic, so let's just skip that. We're not doing that. So smithing. We can do all of this, right? You know, but the thing is like, we're going to be wearing clothes, okay? We're not wearing any kind of armor. I want to make that clear, okay? I see no reason to do this. Oh, you can improve magical armor and weapons. Yeah, sure, we can improve them. Yeah, okay, we can do that. But we're not going to be wearing any kind of armor, okay? We're going to be wearing clothes, all right? So no to this. Blocking we can do, but we're not going to be putting perks into this because we're not using shields at all, right? No to this. Yes, we're going to be doing this, so you can do this. You can do weld if you like, and dual savagery if you want to. But here we're going to be picking the daggers, which is attacks with, okay, that's with swords. Where's the dagger one? That's maces. That's axes. So I wonder if they have anything here for this. I think the only thing here really that we can do is the two-handed. That would be the one for daggers by the looks of it, right? So we can go up this branch up here for it. So we can use, like, you know, dual weld daggers if we want to. We're going to be doing archery too, right? Now I personally don't like eagle eye and that sort of thing, but you can do that if you want to. So you can get a hold of power shot and that and quick shot. Bullseye, ranger, hunter's discipline and all this. Critical shot and that. Like, you could do all of that in there, right? We're not doing armor, we're not doing sneaking. We're doing lock picking in the sense of just chests and that. I don't really see a reason to put anything in there though. We're not doing that. We're doing speechcraft, and I do believe we already covered that. So that's what we're doing there, okay? So that's basically role-playing it in a nutshell. You're going to be like, you know, coming up. If you have any questions, hit me up. We're just going to be wearing ordinary clothes. Like right now, I'm just still wearing my rags, you know, because I'm going to be looking around for different types of clothes and that to wear. So because we're blacksmithing for this guy, we can, you know, better the stuff here and that sort of thing with the different iron and that, you know what I mean? And that sort of thing, right? Okay. We're not into magic, so we can sell this stuff, or we can use it for looks, you know what I mean, right? Oh, we got a ring of minor blacksmithing. Oh, that's cool. So we can wear that if we want to. We can have enchanted stuff in the sense that we can get it for like health and stamina, that kind of stuff. We don't do magic at all. Oh, that's the other thing I should cover. Okay, so yeah, when you level up, you know, you have a choice between magicka, health, and stamina. We're just going health and stamina with this, okay? We're not touching magic at all, because we're not doing magic at all, because we're just the average guy next door, okay? So we're making potions to help at different places, you know, like, you'll bump across different places, like we're going to roam around all of Cyrodiil, or whatever you call this place, Skyrim, you know what I mean? We're going to roam around this whole thing. Now, we're not here to get involved in a war. We're not here for the main story. We're here to role play as the average Joe Blow for as long as we want to. Okay? That means eventually we're going to open up our own shop. This is without any mods. Okay? I want to make this clear. This is without mods. Okay? We're going to have our own home. We're going to make it. We're going to build it with our own two hands. We're going to adopt children. We're going to get married. In other words, we're going to live a normal life, right? And we're going to farm the land. You know, if you don't want children, you don't have to. If you don't want to get married, you don't have to. You can play it as a single person if you like, you know. But basically, like, you know, you can play it to get married. You can play it to have children, because you go to the orphanage and adopt them, you know, and that kind of stuff. You'll see them out in the streets and that too. And those are the ones that I would do. We can do some side quest stuff and that too, but we're not here to kill people. You know what I mean? Okay? Like if there's a quest, let's say, you know, there's a bandit camp, right? And they want us to bring them in for trial. We can role play it that way, right? That we're going out to arrest people to bring them to trial, right? That kind of stuff, right? So that's the whole thing there. So, like, you know, there are certain things that we can do and can't do, right? Because the whole point to this is to just be the average person next door, live an ordinary life as a good citizen to the Empire, and that sort of thing, okay? So we're not here taking sides on the Empire. We're not here to be Dragonborn. We're not anybody special, thus the name Average Jane. Now, I picked a female to play as, okay? Now, if you pick a male, then you're the average Joe, literally, okay? And that's your class. And I just named it that so that I would know that this is the file for it, okay? So we can go around and do blacksmithing, chopping wood, hunting, helping out other people, you know, and just go around exploring all of Skyrim. And that is essentially the breakdown of this character, right? And then as you go along and role play, you can add in your own dialogue, like, you know, hey buddy, I'm a greenhorn in blacksmithing and that. I like to learn a trade. Would you mind being my mentor? And he goes, okay, well, here. Now go take this over there and do this and do that. So you do that first little bit there, you know. He breaks you in, and now he sets you on your own, and he helps you through the first 10 levels, and then you go to another one, and then that helps you through 10 levels, and, you know, so then there'll be 5 trainers altogether, right, at the different cities, okay, and then those are the ones that help you, and you do the same thing with the woodcraft, okay. So in this place, let me just go to the map, okay. So in this place here, we're in Riverwood. We got to get rid of all these markers here. I'm sorry. I don't use quest markers, so I suggest turning them off, to be honest with you. No reason to have them on at all, period. So I just find them annoying. We were here at Riverwood, okay, all right. And what we're doing here is we're just doing stuff locally around Riverwood, right? And so we can go exploring the area, like somewhere over here there's mines and that too in a bit. So we can go exploring, you know, we can wander around and that. We just go wherever we want to go, right? Okay, and then as we come across a city, each one of these will have people to train us in blacksmithing as well as chopping wood, right? So we become a woodsman, okay, and we also become a blacksmith, okay? All right, so yeah, we're a woodsman. You know, we're farming, right? We're a farmer, right? So we're a little bit of everything, like, you know, in terms of that. You know, and then you'll find out things like, you know, the Temple of Mara, which is over here in Riften. Then you'll find stuff there like the Temple of Mara, which you can turn into a Christian church and go, okay, I'm serving Jesus Christ, you know, if you're a Christian. And then you can go off and you can use the Temple of Mara, and they'll send you to Iverstead to go and help out a couple here that want to get married. And you can do that, you know, and stuff like that, and hand out the pamphlets there. And just say, okay, these are the pamphlets teaching you about the 10 Commandments and that kind of stuff, so we can blend that into as well. So you see, we got lots of room here to work with. We're not going to be doing Winterhold in terms of the college, you know, kind of thing, right? Because that's not what we are. We're not a mage. We're just going around all these different towns and places and that sort of thing. Now, up in Solitude, this is where we can find our clothes. So what we can do is, for role-playing, right, we can either walk there or we can take a carriage there from here, right, and we can go up to Solitude, and then we can, you know, go there and we can learn about diplomacy, which will help us to build our speechcraft, you know, which is the court up there. About the politics and the political intrigue and that. There's a lot of stuff going on up there that happens up there too, right? But also there's a place up there where we can buy clothes from. And then we can get the clothes that we want. So by leveling up 10 levels here for blacksmithing and for cutting wood, right, okay, then we can go up here and do the same thing here, and then we just pick, you know, different cities. We do it, you know, 5 different cities and we're good. You know, and I would suggest ending with blacksmithing and Riften, okay? All right? So I just thought I would show you this, like, you know, just so you get some sort of idea. So we can farm stuff, and you want to carry a hoe with you. You want to carry the items that you're going to be using that you would use in real life, right? So we're going to be carrying a bowl, we're going to be carrying a pot, you know, a kettle, you know, a plate, knife and fork. There are places in here where you can get knife and forks, you know. And we're going to have different clothes in that too. You know, we're going to have a wardrobe, right? Just like you would do in real life, okay? So we're going to have all these different kinds of clothes when we find them and that too. And then we're going to do it that way. So that when we get a home, then we can do that. And I would suggest making your own home, like, you know, over here, right? Okay? All right? So that's the way that we're doing this. Hopefully it makes sense. If you're confused about anything, hit me up in the comment section. And I've already done part 1 role-playing this. But yeah, you're just going to add in your own dialogue for immersion purposes, right? You know, and just have fun with it and enjoy it. And if you're a Christian, you see we're on a Sunday, okay, in the bottom right, that means we got to go to church, we got to pray. So that would be like, you know, over there in Riften, there's a church there, right? So then we can go there to pray on Sundays, right? And just spend time with God and Jesus and that sort of thing, right? So that's the whole thing. So yeah, hopefully you like the idea. Thanks a lot for watching. God bless, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.